Weekend. Jody here from Healing Journey, and today I'm going to be talking about the test that gets you the fastest results in terms of your anxiety. So, as you may know, I am a therapist as well as a functional health practitioner. And what that means is when I look at anxiety, I look at how do we retrain the brain and pull apart thinking patterns, but I also incorporate lab testing into some of the work that I do with clients. So it's really about a combination factor. I'm not sure if you're aware of functional medicine, but basically what it means is using lifestyle and lab testing to get to the root cause of what's going on. So really, when I'm working with you around your anxiety, the main question that I'm asking is what is underneath your anxiety? So if you're familiar with the functional medicine world, and if this is you, just be like or type a yes in the comments. Then you may definitely have heard of a lot of the lab testing that's out there. And let me tell you, there are tons of different tests that you can do. You can do the Dutch hormone test, which will tell you what your hormones look like, how you're metabolizing hormones, if you're estrogen dominant, if you are at risk for breast cancer. You can also run a GI map, which tells you what's living in your gut and if you have gut infections that are linked with high levels of anxiety. You can run heavy metal tests to see if your body has actually accumulated some of the metals that you've been exposed to in products you've been touching or using or through the air. You can run organic acid tests that shows you basically what is going on in your body at a cellular level. So what your mitochondrial function is going to be like, if you have mold or fungus growing in your body that's creating your anxiety. So there's definitely a ton of lab tests that you can run, and it can actually be very expensive and very overwhelming to figure out what tests to do, when you should do them, and why you should do them. So today I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit more about my absolute favorite test and my starting point for all of the clients that I work with, because I think it's just so phenomenal at really pulling apart what's going on. And also, a lot of people have really fast results when they start to supplement based on the test results. So this is a test that I'm actually running in both my online 12-week program called the Holistic Anxiety Fix. But as you may or may not know, I'm going to be opening up my membership to you guys at the end of August. So this is something I've never done before, and it's something that I may not even ever do again. I'm sort of doing it because of COVID, and I want to give an opportunity for people to access some of this lab testing without having to pay a fortune or work with me one-on-one. So if you're looking for, strategies outside of therapy, outside of yoga, and outside of meditation, and you're looking to dive deeper into what's actually going on with you, then you're definitely going to want to tune in and really understand why I like this test. I was talking with somebody the other day about some of the testing for anxiety, and for her, she was like, oh my goodness, this is such a weight off of my shoulders, because I was under the impression that I was doing something wrong or I was flawed or broken. And what this approach can actually do is it can allow you to realize that if you figure out what's imbalanced in your body, then there's actually a way to heal it. And so this is very contrary to a lot of messaging that's out there in conventional medical approaches and even in therapy approaches to some extent. So if you're feeling really frustrated, or if there's this sense of almost like guilt that, you're flawed or you're broken or you're never going to get to the bottom of things, then you're going to want to think about doing a hair tissue and mineral analysis. Now, this is a test that isn't run by a lot of practitioners, and it's really unfortunate because this test offers so much insight into your mineral status. And if you've been stressed for a long period of time, which is pretty much everybody in the group. So if you've had ongoing stress, some of you that I've talked to have had a bit of anxiety since birth, and then that switch is flipped, right? So you've had low grade anxiety, and then all of a sudden something typically happens, and then your anxiety just ramps up. Often what's going on is you're depleting your calming minerals. And so the longer you've been stressed, the more these calming minerals are going to be depleted in your body. Now, a lot of people will say to me like, hey, I did blood work and everything looks great. And that is quite possible. It's quite possible that you've done blood work and it looks quote unquote normal, but at a cellular level, which blood work doesn't test for, you're actually depleted in all of your calming minerals. So for example, magnesium is a calming mineral. And if you've burned through your magnesium stores because you've been stressed for so long, and then a stressful situation comes along, you're not going to have access to that calming mineral magnesium that you need to calm your body down. The same thing actually happens with potassium. So we burn through potassium when we're stressed out as well. And so that actually creates a deficiency. And so what ends up happening then is that you don't have the stores to access when you are going through stress, and simply eating foods, even if it's a healthy diet, it isn't going to give you high enough concentrations to actually be able to replenish your mineral stores. And that is why I absolutely love a hair and mineral test, because it will tell me and you exactly what's going on in terms of particularly your magnesium and potassium, but it's also going to tell me what's going on with your calcium and your sodium, and then it goes through selenium and boron and zinc and copper and all of these other things. The other reason I really love a hair tissue mineral analysis is it's going to tell me whether or not you're likely to be copper toxic. And a lot of women today have their minerals depleted because their body has stored excess copper. And I've done a couple of lives already on copper. So if you're curious about the link between copper and anxiety, be sure to check those out. But basically, copper is one of the main reasons, copper accumulation is one of the main reasons that a lot of women experience anxiety. And so if you have high levels of copper, it's really, really hard for the body to regulate or normalize that without some mineral support. So when we're supplementing for these minerals, it can actually be a really, really great opportunity for you to tailor the minerals specifically to what your body needs. And let me tell you, if you're mineral deficient, the results are fast. I had a client who had low blood pressure for over 2 years, and within 6 days of taking mineral supplements, so she was absolutely tanked from her minerals, within 6 days, her blood pressure normalized and remained normal. So the results of this are fast, which is why it's the number one test that I recommend that all of my clients go through. So if you'd like to get involved and you're curious about this test, then you can join the membership that's going to be opening at the end of August. So stay tuned for more information for that. Or the alternative is that you can actually join my 12-week program where I hold your hand and walk you through step by step on various different strategies, including mineral balancing, and to support your system. Now, I know everyone likes something that they can do in the moment. And so what I am going to offer you is something that I include in my program as well as my membership, which is a recipe for potassium broth, which is high levels, which gives you a lot of potassium. So basically it combines the high potassium foods together, and then it's something that you can make and drink and get that potassium sourced right away in your diet. So if this is something that you'd like, write potassium broth in the comments, and I'm going to be personally messaging you that recipe. Otherwise, stay tuned for more interesting information about root causes to your anxiety.